Hi, everybody. I'm Andres Makris, founder and president of Big Mouth Survey. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. And I hope everybody had a great Easter weekend, whoever had celebrated Easter this past weekend. I hope everybody had a positive and great experience. And, for me, I did a lot of Zoom calls, and talked to family members and caught up. So I had a great weekend, and I wish everybody did. Today, we have a conversation. The topic is going to be business after COVID-19. I have a very great guest, lucky to have him on today. He's the CEO of Silver Bay Capital, Joe Robert. How are you today, brother?
I'm doing well, dude. Thank you for having me on. I know it's 2020. I think it's our 20-year graduation reunion this year, right? 20 years, right?
Yeah, 20 years. My God, it's like yesterday.
I feel old after saying 20 years, huh?
Oh, my God. Tell me about it. I'm 38. I'm 38. How about you?
37. Yeah, 38 in July.
Oh, God bless. So you're younger than me.
Yeah, just a little bit. But yeah, so to give your viewers a little bit of background about myself and what's been going on in those last 20 years, ever since back in high school, I always was working for myself, doing landscaping work and so forth around the neighborhood, and went to technical school for contracting in 11th and 12th grade. And that led me to graduating high school and starting JR's contracting and landscaping. And from there, I continued doing landscaping and contracting work for customers. And then at the age of 19, I got into real estate. I bought my first property to live in over in Warminster, and I stayed there. I fixed that up and sold it just after about 2 years and 1 week. And at the same time, I started investing in real estate down in the Outer Banks of North Carolina with my mother. So through the 2000s, I was investing in real estate from fix and flips to some small land subdivisions. And then obviously, like everybody, the market crashed, right?
Yeah.
And that unfortunately, it was a good thing and a bad thing that comes out of everything. Good thing was in my 20s, I've learned great life lessons. So the next time I'd be more well prepared, right? And so I got, after the recession had passed, I started back up fixing properties in Philadelphia. And 2011, one of my private lenders, that was funding a flip for me, said he was moving all his capital to another asset class, and that was non-performing mortgages. And so I started going to the weekly or monthly meetup events, learning about that. And after about 6 months, I found a partner, Bill, and I went out and bought a pool of loans, and then I had him work it. And then I seen some results, started getting some payoffs. So from there, I stopped doing real estate for a while and solely focused on buying loans. And most of these loans were all second position mortgages. That's basically like a line of credit, everything that was kind of originating in the 2000 subprime era, or maybe a piggyback loan. So if you had a first mortgage and you need a down payment, you get a second, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, we formed a partnership with Bill, myself, and another partner, Lindsay. And from about 2011, 12 to just a couple of years ago, we were buying pools of loans from other banks and from other hedge funds. And, that has done very well. And in 2014, to back it up a little, we had an office there in Willow Grove outside of Philadelphia area. We decided to move to some place that was warmer and a better tax jurisdiction. So we decided on moving to Puerto Rico. Lindsay and I decided to move there. Bill went his own way and stayed here outside of Philadelphia. And at that point, we had an office. We had about a handful of employees and a handful of interns. And, every business is different. But for us, what we found out over there is that worked well is that we actually got a little bit smaller and then outsourced all the things that demanded more expertise to those specialized vendors. So when we moved down to Puerto Rico, we had a tech guy that came with us that would manage our software. And then we outsourced documents and document custodian to a vendor. We outsourced servicing to another vendor. And then we ended up getting another IT guy overseas. And that worked out real well. That kept us, kept the overhead small, which I think is really important to all small businesses, especially as we're finding out right now in today's time. So after that move at the fall of 2014, we continued to buy pools of loans, and we got hooked up with a couple more brokers, and we came across a pool of REO commercial properties in Puerto Rico from the banks. And what happened is Puerto Rico is probably a handful more years behind the U.S. in regards to recovery. Does it make sense? Because the U.S. recovered more around 10, 11, 12, or at least started. Puerto Rico was a few more years later. So we ended up buying a big pool of properties there. Worked out very well. One of the best deals we ever did. And being that it was a Puerto Rico investment and we were a resident, all profits were tax-free. Isn't that amazing?
Wow. What an opportunity.
And so it's good. And so ever since the last couple of years, we bought another pool of loans. We've been up buying some other one-off properties, and more or less the last 24 months, things have started to slow down just in regards to the pricing and all the assets. Everything has gone up so much since the last recession that the opportunity and compression of yields and return has gotten a lot smaller. And so a lot less deals penciled in for us to buy. So we actually been sitting back a little bit, taking a little easier, and kind of maybe with a little bit of that boredom being in Puerto Rico is that I started meeting other people that invested in the crypto space and blockchain space. And so, that's how I got started there. I got introduced to people there and, started playing around and investing small there. And over time, just keep investing, dollar cost averaging over the last couple of years. And, more recently have invested in a multifamily building in Daytona Beach, and also a venture capital fund for blockchain out in Silicon Valley. And all in all, over the last 20 years, I've done bought over 150 properties, over 2,800 mortgage loans, and the limited partnership interest in several different funds.
Wow, that's very impressive. Wow, that is impressive. So going into right now, let's talk about real estate during COVID-19 and after. Where do you see the real estate debt market? So what effects will you see after?
Yeah, it's hard to say too much after, because I think there's definitely a lot of speculation going on out there, but there's definitely going to be some defaults, and to what magnitude, I don't think we know until we see how long people are actually in lockdown. But the feeling that I've gotten in the market in the last couple of years is that even though everything's been doing real well, the cost of everything has been so high, right? I feel like cost of health insurance for, an entrepreneur and his family, it's like, I check my bills, like $30,000 for the year between health insurance, doctors, and everything. I'm like, dude, we're healthy. You know what I mean?
Right. It's a lot of money going out the door. Seriously, it is.
Yeah. So I have just gotten the feeling overall that the debt markets, including consumer, mortgage, that includes credit cards, student loan, everything, has just gotten too big in regards to, incomes and to disposable incomes, that at some point, it has to be addressed. And maybe, there's two options this is going to go from here. One, we're going to either address it over the next 12 to 24 months and it's going to be some pain, or the government's going to bail everything out and kick it down the road some more, which they typically do, right?
And that's the scary part right now with the bailout. It's that, I know they're providing all this. They have this, $2.2 trillion package, for businesses. I'm just wondering, is that going to be enough? Because I know that, let's say when it does settle down and we're able to move forward and start opening up businesses, what I'm afraid about is that, how people are going to react after this. Are they going to go out? And the one question I wanted to ask you was owning. Do you think people are going to go out now and buy houses? Do you think, because right now we're entering a hot market season where this is a time where people put up their houses, right? This is the time where people buy and sell. Do you think after this, do you think the market is going to explode? Do you think people are going to go out and start buying houses, put up their houses for sale? What do you think?
I think there's a few different buckets, right? I mean, there's also depending on income level, right? Because I think more of what's getting hit maybe the most is more of the service related industries right now, that kind of restaurants and everybody that's just shut down, more than the tech guys that are making six figures. So I think, geographically, that's a big difference. What was the already previous run up? But all in all, if I had to give some insight, I think there's going to be, I think there should be a big slowdown. I think there should be a big slowdown. I believe that probably everything under the 300 to 400 will still do pretty good. But the top end, over 500, over $1 million, depending on jurisdiction, is going to get even slower. And that's really just going to depend on lockdown again, right? If over the next 12 months we go lockdown 2-3 times where it's 30, 60, 90 days at a time, I think that's a lot of devastation. And then in that case, we're just going to have a long drawn out period where, there's going to be real estate prices that go down even further. If this is just a one and done, I think there's going to be some, delinquencies and all that, but it's not going to be as bad as we kind of are speculating. And that's really just like the unknown, right?
Yeah.
We don't know we don't know what's going to happen, how much we're going to get locked down, or even when, right?
No, I agree. Yeah, nobody knows. Now, in your real estate experience, how are you preparing right now? Your portfolio, like on the real estate side, are you going aggressive? Are you holding back?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Well, as I mentioned, the last 24 months, we slowed down on the buying and mostly sold out a lot of what we owned at the end of 18. Part of my move back last year, I came back from Puerto Rico to Raleigh now, down North Carolina. It's kind of halfway point between the Philadelphia area and down south. And therefore, from a tech and real estate, it's a great growth area next 10 to 20 years. I think, remind me again on that question. Sorry.
The question, even I forgot about it.
Oh, on the real estate. So yeah, on the 24 months, we really slowed down and sold most of our assets. So whatever I bought in the last year, I am starting to lose money on rentals and that, because the state down here locked down the area where the vacation rentals are, and are mandatory that the owners have to actually refund the tenants, and insurance is not covering it. So it's kind of a little bit of a bummer. So, beyond that, what saved me this time is that I wasn't over leveraged and in a lot of deals like I was in 2000s. And I knew something was going to happen. Obviously no one ever knows when or what it was going to be, but I just felt like, same as 2000s is when everybody on the internet talks about real estate, the game is going to come to an end. It could be 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, right? And you really want to be a little bit lighter as you come to the end. So in that respect, I've, right now maybe only have, 10, well, I have a couple of different things, but whatever we have is pretty safe right now. And I'm going to have some losses for a while or the next year, but, pretty minimal overall. What we're doing moving forward, we're just kind of, we're calling investors. We're planning out who would be interested in investing in a fund, probably by Q3. I think by Q2, we'll have a better understanding of what's happening in the market, right? And just after, let's see, Q2. Yeah, Q2, we'll have April, May. We'll have, economic slowdown and everything. By Q3, July, we'll start to see what the effects are. And then maybe by the end of the year, the opportunities will show up on what's available in the marketplace and at what price. And at that point, by then we just want to have a fund set up and all the investors interested in getting on board to buy whatever that value add or opportunity deal is comes to the market.
Understood. Now, more so on business wise, as far as for companies, how do you think they're going to rethink overhead? As far as for outsourcing, hiring, payroll.
Well, I think what I've started to see a little bit more over the last few years, and what's going to happen a lot more is that, probably a couple different segments, but the real small business guy, he's probably going to try to scale up a little bit more if he wants to scale. He's going to either work from home
Yeah.
and have a few employees and not have an office and everything. Or if he's able to scale his revenues to a point where he can afford an office, he'll probably have a handful of people or whatever that would be for the home base or the HQ. We're seeing that a lot where there's an HQ. And then as the team starts growing, a lot more of that team becomes a remote workforce, right?
Yeah.
And then they also, for any specific individualized services, you just outsource that to a contractor or someone that's expertise in that area just to do that specific project and then pay them and then move on. So I think, especially for those that are getting burned by all the overhead of real estate at the moment, I think they'll definitely, everyone will try to work out of their home a lot more until their company is profitable enough, or if they want to grow further to move into an office place. But I think, remote work is going to move forward a lot faster now that we're in this lockdown time.
Yeah, and I think as far as remote work, I mean, we're all getting used to it. For myself, I'm not used to it at all. It's definitely an adjustment for me, but definitely I see now that a lot of work for myself, for employees that work for Big Mount Survey, it's really, you think about, do you really need to go back to the office, right? Do you really need to? And it's really been a topic of our discussion as far as is the office necessary? So I think that, going remote, this has been an adjustment for us. It's been a great learning curve. And definitely, moving forward, we're going to debate, is the office really needed? So, it's been something that I never expected. It's hard for me to do, but, like I said, working from home has been an adjustment.
I almost feel a thought that came to my head the last week was some certain guys, have talked about 4-hour work days, Richard Branson and so forth, right? Have kind of mentioned 4-hour work days or something in the future, whether that's 20, 30, 40 years. And what came to my mind over the last week is this part where you wake up and you're working from home at, let's say, 7 a.m. and you work till 12, 2 o'clock, pretty hard. And then you have this part where you're done work and then you go out into society and you do your gym or you do your activities or you hang out with your family. And that's maybe like how I envisioned it, that shorter workday happens, but you're become a little bit more focused. You do it at home, you don't travel, right? And then this way the productivity actually goes up, but the hours you work go down.
No, I see that. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Now, what do you think? How will people look at entrepreneurship differently after COVID-19? Do you think people are going to start opening up more businesses? Do you think people that are entrepreneurs that are currently going through the COVID crisis, so to speak, or pandemic, the ones that are struggling, do you think they're going to exit? Do you think is this time going to bring out more entrepreneurs? What are your thoughts?
Well, everything circles back to capital in this conversation in my mind. Money rules, right? So I think if a lot of entrepreneurs or their businesses are being shut down right now because of COVID, I think they're going to need to eat or feed their family. So therefore, they are probably going to look to find a job in the short term to get everything going and at least get stability back in. And, however that may last, another year or a few years, I think a lot more people are going to look to take a job where they have a steady paycheck and so forth. And then maybe as the economy rebounds again or it gets back to its all-time high, they'll seek back another project or get back into business.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I don't know about you, but like for myself, this has really put a challenge to me. And I mean, during this time, it's been very challenging for all my businesses that I currently operate. But definitely, I'm using this time to move forward with expanding relationships. I'm trying to make it more positive instead of dwelling and saying, "Oh my God, no revenue coming in. We're kind of on the pause right now." As far as myself, I'm taking the time to build more relationships, try to think outside of the box. What could I add on as far as revenue, additional streams of revenue for all the companies? How can I do that? Can we implement that? So it's brought me out of my comfort zone because I didn't anticipate for something like this to happen. So, I'm kind of, I don't want to say I'm happy that this has happened, but it comes at a time where I think that all of us need like a gut check. And for me, this has been a gut check for myself on how I'm doing with running and how we're looking to grow and how we're getting out of our comfort zones. This has been definitely a time where it's forced me to improve and think outside the box.
Yeah, we were just, when it came to like venture capital, startup, entrepreneurs, I mean, we were just at a point where there was just so much money flowing around that everyone, especially the people in their 20s, had a misconception of what actually building a business is supposed to be, right? And just raising 10, 20, 30 million, give yourself a paycheck and not bringing anything in the door, I think that's over for a while, and hopefully, because it was just too frothy. And then on the other side, what you're saying is that a recession or some, as the market pulls back, it's healthy for people, right? In the long term, you learn stuff from it, you adjust, you change your business model, you just do something different that's out of your comfort, right? That you've been doing the last couple of years because everything was going good. You're like, it's never going to end, right?
Right. Yeah.
But, there's always some pain before the pleasure, right? So I think, people are going to go through pain first, but, a year, 2, 3 years from now, 5 years, they're going to look back and be like, it was good. Like, here's the good things that came out of it. And that's always how everything is.
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully I hope this will calm down as far as for the crisis or the pandemic. I hope we can start opening back up, hopefully by the end of May. That's what I'm saying. I hope so. But definitely look forward to see how businesses react once they open up. I definitely am looking forward to it.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate. I mean, definitely a lot of people put in their, their life savings, all their time. And I mean, we make money on opportunity, but at the same side, on the other side, I don't like, the way people are kind of put out of business per se, out of their control or in the government's hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't go far into that. I'm not going to get all, politics, but, it's not even like this was, an over leverage or per se of, the entrepreneur's fault in this situation. This was like a government thing. And so it's definitely unique times, and it will make everybody stronger, after a while.
Yeah, it definitely will make everybody stronger. And like I was talking a little bit earlier about, one thing that I've seen positive from all of this is that, building new relationships, that I just can't emphasize enough for people out there just right now that are tuning in, is to take advantage of the time that you guys have and reach out to people that you thought you never could speak to. Because from my experience, I've been talking to a lot of people that I never thought I could get in reach with, and they have the time. And it's amazing what relationships are being built right now. So I just want to emphasize to everybody out there, please, don't stop yourself up here. Make the contact, reach out. It doesn't hurt. What's the worst thing that can happen? They're not going to answer you. But what I'm finding is more people have an open mind and they're kind-hearted to answering and building new relationships. And I hope after the COVID, this experience, I hope people still have that open heart and kindness to engage in new relationships moving forward. I really do. I really hope.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I mean, it's been a good time to get some things. I mean, the thing about this, part of me, there's, like you said, there's good things, right? And part of me actually likes this a little bit, this lockdown, right? I feel like I'm actually getting some more work done, or the business development aspect of things, like, because everyone's just kind of slow and stopped. It's like, okay, let's get some things done, right?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the positive sides. I actually feel a little bit less. I don't know if I want to call it anxiety, but it feels like the world has slowed down to take a moment to just breathe, right?
Yeah. We have no control over it, right? There's no control.
Yeah, I almost feel, and I was like, you know what? I feel like every decade we should have like a 2 to 4 week period where, like, it's like a holiday where I know we have Christmas, but we don't have somewhere like business just kind of shuts down. Everyone just goes, hangs out with their family, and like just relaxes.
Right.
It's,
Yeah.
it's almost like a global vacation, right?
Yeah. 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 And I agree. Like, I mean, I really, there's some part, again, some extent, I kind of like it because, again, it kind of gave me the time to really recharge. So to,
Yep.
because I have no control over the shutdown, right?
Yep.
Nobody has the control.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
it really gave me that sense of to relax a little bit more than during these type of times I would usually stress out. Like I really would stress out. But since we have no control, there's nothing we can do. Stay positive and enjoy the experience.
I agree.
And so I want to talk a little bit because I know you have a lot of experience in this. You know, as far as for the cryptocurrency, do you recommend or do you have any advice during this time? Is it a good time to get involved in cryptocurrency or blockchain? What is your advice to the people out there?
That's a good question there. I think, there's so many different types of asset classes to invest in, obviously, right? And there's a lot the Wall Street provides you through Fidelity and TD Ameritrade and Vanguard. If you want to go against the herd, mentality, meaning, if you want the 8 to 10% return, you're going to go park your money with Wall Street. What I've learned is you have to look for the other deals that typically are harder to find or not talked about as much to earn a higher return on your money for a longer period of time.
Mm.
And cryptocurrency, while it's still young and is definitely going to take 10, 20 years to mature, I mean, there's so many things about it. I think living in the US, we don't always recognize the global problems, right? I mean, we kind of just are in our own bubble here, and we don't know what's going on in Zimbabwe or Africa or Venezuela and how they live, or how their property rights or their property is taken from them, and how their money is inflated and so forth. So when it comes to crypto, I mean, the ability to be able to send money globally 24/7 is just like, and it's peer to peer, right? So if you have your own crypto wallet and someone else has a crypto wallet, you can send on a Saturday or Sunday, you could send $1 million to someone in Hong Kong and it's there, pretty instantly.
Wow.
Right now, what you got to log into the bank on bank hours, right?
Yeah.
You got to send it. You got to pay an international wire fee. Depending on your bank, may take a day, may take 5 days, right? And so I think the ability of this peer-to-peer, a little bit of what the crypto and blockchain is trying to do is more a decentralized, a more transparency, a more peer-to-peer marketplace. I mean, that's the ultimate efficiency. Like everything that we're seeing in the market, there's always been a middleman.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So like right now, do you see people like using cryptocurrency more during this time because, with banks limiting their hours, do you see this as a trend?
I think in the US, it's going to be more of a store value or an investment or speculative investment at the moment.
Okay.
Certain places like Venezuela and, those countries, they're, starting to use some of the crypto for payments or peer-to-peer for barter or transactions there. I think, because the world currency is the dollar, we just don't recognize as much the impact that crypto has yet until maybe the government goes printing 5, 10, 20 trillion, and then we might see.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes a whole lot of sense.
So I think
it could happen soon.
Yeah, I think actually it was just reported, and I didn't check on it, but I think someone just did $1 billion move from a wallet to a wallet with a 68-cent transaction fee. So you could just get an idea of, like Stripe, I think is 2.9% plus like 30 cents or something for every transaction fee. So these guys are collecting 2 to 4% of every transaction fee. I mean, there's just no need for somebody to be taking that much money out of, all the businesses out there. And so I think there's so much room for money payment services there's so much opportunity there for money payment services that we're going to see a lot of this implemented there, where these transaction fees get down to like 50, 100 basis points. And this is going to help, companies out a lot.
Wow. Wow.
What else to the crypto? I would say that, I mean, it's also, it could be used as a store of value. I think, it's still gaining traction in use case because it's still early. I think we'll see that play out more in the next 10 years. There's been a lot of stable coins, which they're trying to do is basically a digital crypto tied to a dollar, right?
Yeah.
Tied to a fiat currency. And so far, those have actually been doing very good and are very positive. And I've, said, maybe 2 years ago, or said to my partner, like, that's going to be the big thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like if they had a digital dollar right now, and everyone had a wallet, I mean, the Fed literally could go to the machine, push the button, and send everybody their freaking money in seconds, minutes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they can't even figure out if they're going to get checks out, direct deposits out, and how long it's going to take. I mean, it's just ludicrous. By the time someone gets a $1,200 check from this whole thing, like there are already thousands down in the hole. I mean, it's inefficient, right?
Yeah, no, I see it. I mean, right now, that's my biggest. I feel for the people out there that need that money. I mean, how long are they going to wait for it? And especially with the businesses that are applying for these SBA loans, these grant forgiveness loans, how long will it take? How long will it take for them?
Correct.
And this will help. I mean, this would help improve the speed up of the process of them getting the funds that they need. Yeah,
correct. And, there's always the pros and cons of everything, I like to say. So, however the digital dollar comes about, it will be interesting. I mean, look, China's already, I would say, ahead of us in regards to a lot of tech. So they're already using all these things within their communication platforms and all these tracking devices and everything. So a lot of their people are already being tracked, or their transactions are being tracked. So I think the US doesn't want to implement something in the fact to track people, but it definitely can be done. And, there is the benefits of it, and there's ways you could do it where it would actually protect people too.
Yeah.
But look, I think we're time to move on to the digital age anyway. You know what I mean? Like, like I got a invoice the other day from a doctor and or something. The wife was like, "Oh, you got to write a check or send something." I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what the hell's that? I'm like, are you, and in China, the QR codes are already big. Like, think about it. Let's say you get an invoice. Like, why doesn't it have a QR code? Why can't you just take it up to your phone and your Google account or whatever, just pays it automatically so quickly, like instantly? Like, this is just like, we're still so behind in technology that's why I think there's a lot of inefficiencies in the marketplace that tech can still eat up over the next 30 years.
Why do you think we're holding back on it? Like, why do you think it's not being implemented fast enough?
That's a good question. Well, I think there's always adoption curve. Mostly, I think it always starts with there's always politics side, right?
Yep.
And typically that currently or over the last 100 years has mostly been older male guys, set in their ways, right?
Yeah.
And second would also be older people, meaning, seniors and so forth. They don't adopt to the new technology as fast, or don't have anybody to educate them. Yeah. And so that's why I think a lot of things get held up. But things like COVID actually will help sell or, move that along a lot faster, because there'll be things throughout this that they're going to implement that will kind of set the path for what they're going to do the next 10 to 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hope. I mean, listen, from what brief experience or my understanding about the cryptocurrency, I just think that it makes things so much, like you were saying, makes it transparent. It's faster to deal with. And I think that, hopefully, it'll happen sooner than later. That we move closer to this type of currency. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean on the blockchain side, I mean there's like so many use cases you could come up with, and it's a matter of what will be implemented. But I'll just to name a few, kind of in regards to what has come to my mind.
Mhm.
I mean, think of like right now with all this people, late on their borrowers' payments, right? Well, one factor from the last mortgage meltdown was that all the servicers have centralized systems with all the data for a borrower siloed within their platform for when they are managing and servicing the loan for the X period of time, right?
Mhm.
Then when it moves to somebody else, it goes in another system, and then it goes into another system. And so what happened from the 2000s a lot is that a lot of that data didn't carry over properly. Data was lost. And therefore the payment information was not always accurate. And there's no ledger public ledger available for a court system to be able to go and track those payments, right?
Mhm.
So I like to say, one of my thoughts is like if we had a public ledger that only gave permission, let's say, to the owner of a loan, the borrower of the loan, and a court system to that data, that every time, let's say, a borrower makes a payment or a renter makes payment or whatever, it's registered, the transactions put on that chain, the date, time, and amount, right?
Yeah.
So now it can't ever be questioned. No one can change it. It can't be, altered. Therefore, if you have to go to the court, the court just goes, okay, it's there. Here's the, you know what I mean? There's no. So the thing about blockchain is that, it can record proper data that's immutable. So people can't change things and allow for like, either a yes or no to certain cases where it's really cloudy or, you're in some centralized system and like that company goes in and changes the information to make it look good to go to court. Right. And no one can prove it.
Yeah.
Another is like, a lot of these, some of these countries, they don't have all the proper land records, right? So you might have somebody that owned property with their family back 100 years, and a government just goes into their system and goes, "Man, I'm giving it to this guy, or you don't own it anymore," right?
Mhm.
So property rights, I mean, that could be a big one in some of the countries out there. So there's a lot of use cases. I mean, I just don't think we're going to see it all play out for 20, 30, 40 years, but the internet, look, after 20, 30 years, I mean, no one thought it'd play out like this, right?
Yeah. Nobody did.
I mean, we were in school, we graduated 2000, right? And we didn't have laptops in school.
No, we didn't have laptops. The internet was still slow. But, I mean, you rarely used the computer and the laptops. I mean, if anybody had a laptop during the day, it was like a freaking briefcase.
Yeah. So I would like to, so when I say 20 years, it sounds long, but man, it's going to go by quick and things are going to change a lot. And a lot of these middlemen are going to be squeezed. And it's going to be really interesting to see how many larger corporations go out of business.
Yeah. Wow. That's the scary part. And that's what I anticipate probably September, October, we will hear a lot of that type of news of people going out of business because, depending on how long this will last, because again, nobody knows. Nobody knows. And this could be this for me. I think 2020, is a year of, focusing on 2021.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. I mean, yeah, because we're already rolling into Q2. This is not going to be done until a few more months, and then it's going to take time to recover, and back to better profitability is definitely going to be next year, right?
Yeah.
And I like to say, it's just plan for worst case, and everything else above that is great, right?
Yeah. But what do you think if we're about to close everything up?
Yeah.
As far as advice wise, what do you think as far as for business owners? What's one piece of advice you could give to them of what they should be doing right now, currently, to not not go under, not close the doors forever? What piece of advice do you think they should be doing right now?
That's a good question. Well, I think there's guess what comes to my mind is that first you got to look at your situation, right?
Yeah.
And you got to ultimately really determine is this going to work, right? Because I've been in a situation back in 2000s where like you just don't want to cut your losses because you're hanging on for dear life and you think it's going to get better and better and better, and you just put yourself in a hole. And looking back, if you just cut right up front, take the pain, just cut the losses and move on, you're going to be able to get out of it a lot quicker. Now, if you're on the other side where you know financially that this is on lockdown 30, 60, 90 days, and you're going to be able to get through this and be back in business, then, you know, the way a company runs is by its customers, right? I mean, the customers is, customers and then the team behind the company. So I would focus on those two things. And I would cut all overhead and expense as much as possible to, you know, operate as lean as possible. And then two, I would go spend a lot of time and reach out to all the customers and work with them, you know, on either maybe, discounted tickets. I guess depends on your thing, right? Maybe you're a restaurant. Maybe you want to start selling some vouchers, right?
Yeah.
A quarantine, voucher 50% off, good till the end of the year. You know, figure out how you could get creative in generating some revenue right now that will also bring those customers that have been loyal to you back in the door when you open back up.
Can I ask you another question related to that?
Yeah.
So, like, as far as getting in touch with your customers, but as far as for like, let's say, do you think it's a crucial time to get as much feedback from your customers right now? The reason why I ask that is because I think trends of customer experience, trends of customer service, I don't know if it's going to be the same anymore, right? And I think what better time than now is to get the feedback from your customers on what their anticipations are, what they're expecting, what are they worrying about, and what are they going to want, right? What are they going to want once it's all over? What are they going to want from you?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I guess that's what I was, trying to summarize too, but that was well put. But just, I mean, like, that's what I'm saying, just connecting and, talking with your customers, right? I mean, there's so many different businesses, but, one, you may just do a phone and dial everybody, right? I mean, if you hit 10, 50 customers a day, see what they want, see how their experience is, how could you improve, what would they like to see at your company to stay on board or, keep coming back. I think that's important. With the Big Mouth survey is, surveying those customers to see how you can improve, how you can bring value maybe to their life at this point while they're in quarantine,
Yeah. And
maybe the customers would give you an idea of what you can be doing now.
Yeah, and that's what we feel like it's very important now for all businesses, whether it's brick and mortar, retail, online, it's the most important time right now is to get the feedback from customers, from your patients, employees, from every aspect to know and to learn more about them, because everybody's been affected by this, and how people are going to react after this. Why guess? Why guess? That's my whole thing, is why guess what they're going to want, what they're going to need. Ask them now. Whatever tool you use for feedback, use it. Get it now so that you're not going to be guessing. Because I think that once we start moving forward and open up business, you want to kind of have this information before you open up. So that you kind of go into it smooth sailing and you already know what you're going to be doing each step, instead of waiting to the last minute, guessing, and then you're going to fail. It's going to be the worst thing ever to fail and making decisions, without the right information. So,
yeah, if you're not maintaining a great relationship with your current customers, those customers might be going somewhere else while they're on lockdown. Maybe you're a restaurant that didn't really do delivery, and now all of a sudden they're going, they're getting all this delivery from these places that are a lot lower cost. And then later they're like, well, this was just so much more convenient to order it online instead of going over to the restaurant and spending $150, right?
Yeah, correct. 100% correct.
So I think that customer contact, needs to, continue to keep on, keep on doing it every week throughout this period. And like I said, if you could figure out how to get that customer feedback, provide them with some discounts, coupons, something that, engages them, or maybe a quiz or whatever that may be, This way you're armed to get back to business and be stronger coming out of this.
Yes, I agree 100%. So did you want to close up anything? Did you want to just mention anything before we sign off?
I didn't really think about that one, but look, I mean, God, what comes to my mind? I would say try not to, obviously like everybody, try to stay off social media besides watching our videos, right? But look for the positive things on social media, right? There's so much speculation around how long we're going to be on lockdown, how many people are going to die, all this other stuff. Just do your part. Stay at home, have fun with the family, connect with your, family on Zoom or whatever it may be. Work on your business, work on planning a new business if that's what may come out of this. Or, hey, maybe you're looking for a new job that you've been putting off for a while. It's a good time to start, putting some applications out there if you have good talent. Just make a plan for Q3, Q4 of this year and come out of this a lot stronger. I mean, this is not going to be the, last recession or anything that we're going to see, in the next 50 years, right? There's always going to be something. It's going to be something different that comes out from somewhere else. So stay strong and, use your friends and family and as support. Don't be afraid to reach out. I know there's definitely some people out there that, have had, their businesses leveraged or their rentals are leveraged and they don't have rent now, and it's very easy to have anxiety or get depression quickly at home, especially with nobody to talk to. And you just feel like, what is it, the Groundhog Day or something where we're doing the same thing every day. We're just getting up, going, right?
Yep. Feels like that's
something. And they're not going anywhere. And don't be afraid. I mean, everybody else is in the same boat. Everyone's got some problem. Maybe it's a little different than somebody else, but everybody's got some problem that they're facing or some challenge. So don't be afraid to reach out, even to myself. You can find me online, Joe Robert. You could, on Facebook or any of the platforms, and Andreas. So I appreciate Andreas for having me on. It's interesting that 20 years has passed by since graduation, but hey, we're getting older and wiser, right?
That's definitely it. Right? Hopefully we'll continue to keep on getting wiser.
I know these are things that teach us, right?
That's it.
They didn't teach any of this. Anything I do today was not taught in high school. I'm like, what? Like, what did we do, right?
It wasn't taught. School does not teach you what we go through.
Yeah,
we searched for it.
Yeah.
Right. It was not put in our face. We searched for it. We wanted it. And that's the difference, so it's not for everybody, but we're doing what we're doing. We love what we do. And that's the most important thing is to be an entrepreneur. You got to love what you do. You got to love when you wake up in the day, wake up every day. It doesn't feel like job. It feels like it's another day in paradise. Like, you love it,
Yep.
That's what I would like to close on. But again, I want to just thank you, Joe, for coming on today and discussing your advice, your background, and all the helpful advice that you've given today. Also, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. And again, thank you for the questions. We'll be answering those questions once I post a video on LinkedIn. And again, now is the time to reach out, stay in touch. Stay in touch with your customers, stay in touch with your employees, stay in touch with your family members, stay in touch. Now's the time. Please don't waste this time and lose track of it, because now is the most important time than ever. So I wish everybody a great day. I'm closing up. Guys, see you guys tomorrow. Thank you again. Joe, take it easy.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll talk soon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.